Okay, so we've had our brain tan beaver rolled up in this blanket for 2 days now, and it's had the brain solution on the hide. And we're going to take it out and start to further process it, because now is when the real work begins. Other than the fleshing and the stretching of the hide, the braining part is easy. Now is when the real work begins to start to dry the hide out again, to scrape and squeegee all the remaining moisture out of the hide and start to soften it up and break the hide. And that's what we're getting ready to do now. Now there's a couple tools that you can use to help you with some of this process, and I'm going to walk you through that as well. One of them is a tool that you can just carry the head of the tool. Rufus, you can't have this. You can just carry the head of the tool and then make the handle for it on the fly, and it's a multifunctional tool. It doesn't weigh a whole lot if you find the right one. And again, this was a flea market find for me, so I'll introduce you to that tool here in just a few minutes as well. Stay with me. One of the tools that I find comes in pretty handy when I'm doing this is an actual hoe is what it is, but it's a really lightweight hoe, and it's angled backwards. It's got a taper backwards. It's rounded off because it's wore out. It's not real sharp. It doesn't weigh a whole lot. It's been folded over and welded here, so it's fairly old, but it works really good for a scraping device, for scraping the hides and squeegeeing off the hides, and it will work by hand, or you can make a quick handle for it. So we're going to make a quick handle for it today. Generally when I'm out collecting stuff, any good handle material I find, I grab a couple handles just for different things that I might need in camp, and I think this one's going to work out more than fine for this. It's actually bigger than I really need, but it's about the right size. Looking at it, trim it down and it should fit in there good. And this type of tool is made for the handle to slide in from the top and be friction fit. So that's a good thing, because that means this handle is easy to replace. Nothing there for you, mister. Nothing there for you. Pretty good fit. Trim the end of it off there. Give it a little bit of room for shrinkage. Good solid fit around here. Should be a good tool. And this is kind of opening up the pores a little bit too as you're doing this and helping to break the hide. Still got a lot of moisture in this hide that's going to have to go. So this is a tedious process and you just have to take your time with it. We've got an offshoot here growing out of this maple, where you got a smaller tree growing out from the bottom. You've got some separation here. And this can be good for a lot of things, but we're going to chop this thing off. We're going to use this for our stake for breaking our hide over. This is the first thing we're going to do with it. Now we don't want this to be real sharp, so we just want it to be nice and rough. So that's going to work out pretty good. Now again, this really now just becomes a game of drying this thing out, keeping it soft, and working it. And keeping the dog off of it. Rufus, get back. Rufus, no. Now, if you've got areas around this hide where you got holes like leg holes and eye holes, things like that, you got to be careful around those areas, but you really want to get all of this just as soft as you possibly can. So you really have to work it all. Quit now. You really have to work all of it, especially the thicker edges around the face and stuff on a beaver if you want to get it soft. And around the backside. All of that stuff is really important. This is a cannot stop type situation, because if this thing's any damp at all, got any moisture in it left, it's going to get hard again on you, just like rawhide, even though you've tanned it with the brain tan. So set a day aside to do something like this, because it may take you all day. And the more humidity there is in the air, the longer it's going to take for this hide to dry out on you. Now you can go back and forth over by the fire and sit in front of your fire and do this and let that heat help dry it out a little bit. But you do not want to get this thing hot by the fire, because it'll just shrink the hide right up on you with that moisture in there. Quit now, Rufus. So you've got to, Rufus, quit. So you have to be cognizant of that and understand that this is an all-day process. This is not something that takes a half an hour, 45 minutes, and it's done. Once you get to the point where you've got to break this hide before you can smoke it and get it completely dry and broken, it's an all-day job, even for a small animal like this beaver. And if it were a bigger animal like a deer, before it's over with, you'd be wishing you had 2 or 3 people helping you.